In Ultimate, we've got SJR, St. John's Ravenscourt, taking on Kelvin Clippers. This is a rematch of last year's finals, although things are a little bit different from last year. Last year's finals, we had SJR, who were the reigning national champions, taking on an upstart Kelvin. This year, Kelvin is the national champions, taking on a younger SJR team. So things are a little bit reversed. I'm Mark Lloyd, and with me I got Kyle Parker.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Great to have you here, Kyle. What are you expecting from today's game?
Quite frankly, I don't know. I've seen a lot of Kelvin this year. I haven't seen much from SJR. I know SJR is having a great weekend. That's according to their coach, or their head coach, Dean Wright. I expect both teams are going to play really well. Wind conditions shouldn't have too much effect on the game, so I'm expecting a tight one.
Yeah, definitely. We know that SJR won their semifinal against a good Westgate team, 13-3. That's the second time they beat Westgate by a wide margin this weekend. So SJR seems to be putting it together at the right time. But as we said, in their way to a provincial championship is Kelvin, the current national champions. They've had a great weekend as well. They came in seeded a little bit lower than expected at the number 5 seed, but have gone undefeated so far and are excited to put their game to the test against SJR.
Saw them play in both their quarterfinal and semifinal matchups today. They looked very strong. No problems against Massey in the quarters. And again, in the semifinal, the scoreline I think in the end was 10-6 against Gray. Gray gave a bit of a charge in the second half, but mostly Kelvin was dominant in that match as well.
We have SJR wearing their white jerseys today and Kelvin in their red jerseys, although some of them are wearing shirts that maybe aren't jerseys, as they lost flip and their jerseys are usually white, so they're in red today. We also don't have numbers for Kelvin, but thankfully they have some distinguishing features. For example, we've got Steve in the pizza shorts out there, and he's going to be easy to spot as we go. Both sides are very well balanced, able to use multiple players, both have good depth, and use both their male and female players on the lines. Lots of strong players, lots of Team Manitoba representation out here for our provincial teams, and it's great to have them in the finals today.
Quick shout out to the coaches before we get going. For SJR, Dean Wright, mainstay of Winnipeg Ultimate for the last 30 years. Also got Sean Storm and Steve Barria working with him. On the Kelvin side, Will Conrad's been the head coach for several years. Working with him this year, Mike Doyle, Nathan Wilson, and a guy named Kyle. Do you know his last name?
No, it's Calvin. Calvin Jubinville.
Calvin. So
yeah.
I call him Cal. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Cal and Juby are the two names he goes by. He's Will's assistant coach, been spending most of the weekend and season with Will, and a great addition. They're a great duo together, and they've got a lot of help from some alumni as well this weekend. So both teams with strong coaching staffs and big coaching staffs as well. So no minor detail is going to go unnoticed today as we move here.
Speaking of alumni, looks like your former alma mater, SJR, is the team that's about to pull to start the game.
That is correct. Graduating from SJR in 2007. I'm going to try to remain as neutral as possible in today's game. But a lot of respect for both programs and both coaching staffs as well. So really excited for what we're about to see today in the provincial championships.
While we're on the topic of alma maters, quick shout out to CJS for a big win today.
And Liam Gutkin throws the first pull. He's going to be a main fixture today for SJR, but he does not take advantage of that downwind pull and pulls it out of bounds. And Zach Tottle for Kelvin is going to be taking the pull at the brick.
Wind is slight left to right as we're looking out there. Tottle walks to the brick mark. Looks like a man-to-man defense from SJR to start. We got Sam Peterson coming across from the one spot, puts it up in the air. That's going to be an upwind, and it's going to stay up there forever. Brought down by what looks like Neil Santos.
Correct.
Dumps it back to Megan Gillis. She's about 10 yards from the goal line. Sent it to the end zone, and that's a goal to Zach Tottle. 1-0 Kelvin.
So maybe not the way they necessarily drew it up when the game started, having Santos bail them out with a hero grab there. But if you told Kelvin they were going to be up 1-0 after the first point, I think they'd take it.
especially on an upwind score like that.
Definitely, yeah. The wind definitely caught that throw, and fortunately gave Santos enough time to get there and make a play.
Looks like Kelvin's going to be running some offensive plays off some set pieces like that. And what I mean by that is obviously the pole went out of bounds, so Kelvin gets the opportunity to walk it to the middle of the field and about 20 yards up from their own goal line. Looks like they essentially called a play. I don't know if it was going to be that designed play, whether it was going to be a pull out of bounds or not, but with that pull out of bounds, it gave them time to set up and initiate that play, getting the disc from one of their better throwers to another one of their better throwers. Unfortunately, he didn't make a great throw, but it ended up, I think, getting to the receiver he was looking for.
And 1-0 Kelvin as they're ready and about to pull down to SJR. We've got Zach Tottle ready to pull. And I think the big thing from last point is that downwind pull going out of bounds just allows Kelvin to get some free yards going upwind. So as the downwind pulls go this game, we want to keep them in bounds and focus on that moving forward. Inbounds pull centered to Daniela Iridi. Over to Ian Yonkman. He gets it to Jasper Moda. Finds Iridi up line. And she shoots it. And that is caught by Liam Gutkin, who calls himself not in as he was unsure whether or not he was in. And he returns it to Daniela. And that is a quick and clinical point for SJR to make it 1-1.
Another long throw upwind, another successful catch on the other end. It looked like Liam Gutkin either wasn't sure he was in or out of the end zone, or perhaps was playing a little possum and giving himself a little bit of time while his teammates caught up to him there to allow for the easy score.
Definitely, but what we've seen so far is that both of these teams' offensive lines getting on the field, taking care of the disc, and no turnovers so far, as the score is now 1-1. And Kelvin, offensive line's going to want to look to do the same thing they did the first point, and that's just march the disc up and hopefully a little cleaner without Santos having to bail them out.
We mentioned that wind. We're obviously a little bit up the hill here towards the clubhouse and surrounded by a few vehicles, so we can't feel it as much. It does look like the leaves and branches on the trees are moving. It certainly looks like the tents and the flags are moving. But so far it's had no effect on those two offenses coming upwind.
It'll be interesting to see maybe which team throws a different look. We've been one-on-one so far with defense and see if we get SJR pulling out their famous zone 4-person cup that they've been running, for at least the last 15 years.
Gutkin once again on the pull, throws a bit more of a blade, ensuring that he'll get it inbounds, stopped by Santos. Got Quinn Wilson with the disc about 5 yards outside his own goal. He goes upfield to Tottle. Tottle looking for another big throw. This one's good shape. Good receiver on the other end, Sam Peterson. He's about 10 yards outside the goal. Looking for some help, looking for Tottle at first. Still stuck on Tottle, finds him. Tottle now about 15 yards from the goal. Looking into the end zone. So far not looking at his dump. Just throws that forehand break and finds his buddy Sam Peterson. And again, the offense holds 2-1 Kelvin now on serve.
And so we saw a couple of things there. The first is Liam Gutkin made the adjustment on his pull, making sure to get it in bounds, knowing that downwind pull is really important to pin them deep. The second thing we saw is that Kelvin ran the same set piece that they ran on their first offensive point. They started with the cutter closest to us, running all the way across the field, and then looking to huck or throw the disc long to another receiver. So SJR is going to need to make that adjustment and be ready for that play if Kelvin continues to run it with success.
Absolutely, and I think also Gutkin will improve that pull. He was being a little tentative, I think, in terms of distance to make sure he was in bounds first. I think as he gets a feel for it as the game goes along, you might see a deeper pull, and then you might see that zone that you've been talking about, or that you just alluded to on the previous point.
Yeah, we're still in those stages where these teams who have not played yet this weekend are feeling each other out, seeing what's going on, what the other team likes to do. They played once in league play but I think we can throw league play out the window as it's provincial finals right now.
Quinn Wilson looks like he delivered the pull to the opponent goal line.
Ben Cockshot gets it up to Liam Gutkin. And he throws it over to Daniela, who flicks it and gets popped up in the wind again. And I think that was Boyda on the block for Kelvin.
Our first turnover of the game. Kelvin has the disc just on their side of half, and they immediately send it to the end zone, but out of bounds.
Yeah, I think they really wanted that one to work and forced it probably a little bit more than they had to. They've got some really skilled players out there, and they did not need to force that shot to a pretty much 50-50 shot.
That was nice, Mark. That was a nice layout D on that under.
Very nice block, and we're starting to see.
I believe that was Cam Tramley with the block on the under. Now we got Quinn with the disc on the goal line. Looks for his buddy, doesn't find him, but seconds goes to Ethan Boyda. Back to Quinn Wilson. Quinn's now dumping it back to Cam. Tramley is about 15 yards outside the goal. Bit of a stoppage there as defense gets to mark up. Cam looks to the end zone. Just overthrows his receiver.
He's looking for Megan Gillis there, and she's a really strong receiver, and I think she just was trying to figure out where the sideline was and where the disc was, and unfortunately ran out of space.
We've seen a lot of discs falling off towards us here, Mark. Obviously the wind playing a factor going in that direction, is that right?
Yeah, it seems that that Kelvin's maybe putting a little too much touch on their downwind throws, and that's causing the wind to pick it up and take it out of bounds. But we see another SJR turnover as they, I think, threw it between two receivers there.
And for the third time, Kelvin's picking up the disc at half, roughly, or better. Completing a pass to Megan Gillis was Quinn Wilson. Gillis finds Ethan Boyda. And here's Quinn Wilson again, looking to the end zone. Nice fake. Finds Cassidy instead. She's about 15 yards outside the goal and has the disc centered on the field. She looks to the end zone, but the wrong choice. She's defended there.
Daniela Aridi picking it up again. And speaking of picking it up, the wind has done that as well. It's gotten a lot stronger here. And a little confusion there. No one covers Liam Gutkin, and I think most SJR players thought there was a stoppage, but there wasn't, and now with turnover again, Kelvin picks up.
Fourth opportunity here for Kelvin to get a break. Quinn Wilson and Cam Tramley playing a little small ball. Now Quinn Wilson is left. Boyda fills that spot. And there's Cassidy running a nice cut in behind. And she throws the goal to Cam Tramley. That's a break, ladies and gentlemen.
And that makes the score 3-1 for Kelvin as they convert on that first downwind break, which I think we knew was a matter of time before it happened and wondering which team was going to get it, and Kelvin did that.
It certainly looked like that last SJR line had miscommunication, not only on that last turnover, but the one before that as well. They did not look sharp on that upwind, though, on that one.
No, you know what? A couple too many sort of miscommunication throws and drops. I think the decisions were right, just the execution wasn't there. And unfortunately, giving a good Kelvin team 4 chances to score a downwind break is just one too many at this point. And they're going to need to clean it up going upwind from here on out to make sure that they don't allow that to happen again.
Getting word that the wind is changing so that it's towards us. In other words, no longer an upwind, downwind situation on the field, but rather a crosswind vis-a-vis the way the players are trying to go. How is that going to affect the game in your view, Mark?
Well, I think we saw it affect that point a bit on those Kelvin away shots that they turned it over their first couple. The disc was hanging because they were expecting that downwind to push it, east to west, but it was actually taking it further south as it went there and blowing it out of bounds. So it's just going to change the dimensions of how you play defense, where you're forcing. and what throws you're looking to throw now. So as the wind adjusts, the teams need to adjust to make sure that it doesn't lead to a short field turnover and an easy goal for the other team.
But still important to mention that we're not talking about winds that should really affect anybody's ability to play out there. Am I right, Mark?
No, these are really strong players who've been throwing for a while, so they shouldn't be affected by a slight change in the wind. We have SGR starting on offense again here. And moving the disc up, I believe that was... Iridi shoots it again, looking for Gutkin, but we've got a couple players getting in there, and Sam Peterson makes the play.
Yeah, that was a real nice box-out play by Sam Peterson. He knew he had the best read and just made sure that the player from SGR couldn't get around him. Now Kelvin has, again, strong players on the field. Sam Peterson, Zach Tottle, and Cassidy all on the field for another point. Sam goes up to our boy Pizza Shorts. That's Steven Fedorkovich, if I'm pronouncing that properly. He's looking upfield. Looks to Sam Peterson, tries to execute a short throw, but throws it beyond him for a turnover.
Liam Gutkin picks up for SJR, resets it to Danielle in the middle. She gets it over to Niels Hurst.
Okay, I'm back.
And then Nathan Lee Wing with the disc now. Oh, and Liam Gutkin takes it out of the ground. Make sure to secure that pass for his team. Gets it up to Bryn. Bryn's looking for a dump. Gets it over to, I believe that's Jasper Moda with the disc. Lefty looking to take advantage of that. Oh, and a great grab by Daniela. Also left-handed. Gets it to Liam Gutkin. He wants that break shot to the end zone. Gets it to Bryn. No, that's not Bryn. That's Maddie Boroditsky. And she gets it to Liam Gutkin, who makes a great play at the sideline and secures that point for SJR as the score is now 3-2 for Kelvin.
Really solid offensive play that time by SJR. Working it up the field, being very patient. And then, yeah, very sweet grab by Liam Gutkin at the end. Gutkin actually with a couple nice grabs to keep the disc alive so that SJR had the opportunity for that score.
Yeah, we saw the athleticism of all of SJR's players there at display. We had a couple nice layout grabs, really strong cutting downfield, and then obviously Gutkin finishing it off there with a bit of the somersault to seal the deal. Kelvin coming out on O, sending out sort of the usual suspects. We got Zach Tottle, Quinn Wilson, ready to anchor their O-line and try to get back, put SJR back on their toes and regain their 2-point lead.
Yeah, you can see Sam Peterson and Neil Santos also heading out there. These are all four of the guys on this line are players with national experience. And then you got Megan Gillis, also a nationally experienced player in terms of not just high school nationals, but also club nationals.
And then we got Coco Diamond Burchick, as well as Delaney joining them on the line. So that's 7 strong players out there that know what they're doing. And, I mean, all of them are national champions.
Getting word that might be Lindsay Marshall as opposed to Delaney Sharp. And now being corrected that it is in fact Delaney Sharp.
Oh no, and we have a drop pull as Quinn Wilson took his eye off the disc for 1 second, ready to make his second pass, and this is a big break for SJR as Liam Gutkin picks up the disc. Now, I didn't want to say anything before, but I'm pretty sure that most drop pulls actually lead to a turnover. And
that's true. It's a high percentage chance that if there is a drop pull, it won't be a clean score for the other team. Gutkin left him out the hook on that one. Now we got a Sam Peterson huck intended for Zach Tottle. It was the right look. You can see that Zach Tottle had multiple yards advantage against Gutkin. Only thing was that Sam Peterson's throw too far, too flat. Not enough time for Tuttle to get there.
So we've got Niels Hurst getting the disc there from Gutkin. He throws a nice under to Jasper Moda. Gets it to Bryn in the middle. And Gutkin makes another layout grab. Gets it over to Emily Cho. Emily and her sister Caitlin both on the field right now. And something's been called. Hard to sort of figure out. There's a couple different violations that could have happened there. But Emily Cho gets it to her sister. Caitlin Cho with the disc on the sideline. She throws it up to Moda, and it just slips through his hands. Maybe thinking about trying to toe the sideline there before securing the catch.
I like the active mark there by Coco Diamond Burchuk, putting a lot of energy into that mark. Just a little bit more energy like that, and frequently it results in a throw being altered. Peterson centers the disc here to Tuttle. He's about 20 yards from his own goal line. Finds Santos easily around to Quinn Wilson. Wilson looking for the deep shot. Sam Peterson on the receiving end for the goal. 4-2 Kelvin. Mark, you were saying that Quinn Wilson kind of took his eye off that initial pull, and that's how quickly you can lose it and turns the tides. And quite frankly, I had looked away from the field for just a split second, and that's when it happened. But as you also mentioned, it takes a team making the other team pay to actually convert those kinds of errors for it to be an actual momentum shift, because now, as opposed to SGR having all the momentum off a drop pull and a quick score, Kelvin actually comes out of that point with all the momentum, having dropped the pull and not conceded a point.
Yeah, I have no stats to back it up, but I'm pretty sure some of the best defenses that teams play are after one of their teammates drop a pull. It's one of those things that doesn't happen that often, and as soon as it does, every person on that team sort of digs in and wants to get it back for their teammate who they know did not want to make that error, and it's a very rare one. But I mean, some of the best defense I've ever seen play comes off of a drop pull, and we saw Kelvin lock down every option that SGR was looking for there, forcing Liam Gutkin to throw that inside flick that just missed his receiver.
Kelvin will be pulling. At this point, the wind is negligible at best. Looks like it'll be, is that Quinn Wilson to deliver the pull?
Hoping to maybe put a little extra spin so that someone else drops a pull in this game. Bailing him out a little bit. Throws a good pull into the wind here. But this one is caught. And Daniela gets it up to Caitlin Cho, who gets it up to Liam Gutkin, over to Jasper Moda.
Gutkin appears to be playing every point at this stage of the game, or thus far in the game. Looks like there's a stoppage here, number 3 on SGR.
Christian Willits just checking the disc. I think he wanted it to, he was worried about the shape of the disc.
He's being told by teammates, opponents, and coaches alike that there is no stoppage that can be made just to check the status of the disc unless there's some kind of puncture. And actually it looks like the Kelvin defender might have kept counting, and that might have resulted in a stall down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of that outcome, just in that, I mean, he's trying to figure out what's happening with the disc.
Quinn Wilson had the disc, puts one up, attempted greatest. Don't know if Cam Tramley had left from inbounds, but it was a great effort. Disc back to SJR.
But Ben Cockshot not worried about where the disc should come into play, and he just gets it moving, and SJR is off to the races. But a strip call, which I believe is not going to be contested, stops their momentum.
Woo!
And a block or a drop, I'm not sure what happened first there, but Quinn Wilson putting his body on the line
Tremendous effort play there from Quinn Wilson. Playing a bit of ping pong with the opposition, though, as he sends it right back.
This is that first point the first point of the game where neither team really looks that comfortable with what's going on, but we are seeing some strong cutting on both sides still. Liam Gutkin with the disc now. And he hits Caitlin Cho. There's a call after a great grab by Katie Dodgson, but the disc is going to go back. My best guess is that a stall was called by Quinn Wilson.
I think that's exactly right. Battle here between Quinn Wilson and Liam Gutkin. Disc coming back to Gutkin, probably coming in and saying stall 8.
Now, if I were a betting man, I'd say he's either throwing this quick pass to Willits or this hammer. There's the quick pass. The hammer to Jasper Moda was also open, but Willits just misses Daniela on this close side, and Kelvin gets another chance. I think their best bet is to not look to score right away and score out of flow, because those quick shots haven't been serving them well so far in this point.
Yeah, I think it would do them well if they work the disc a bit. I've already mentioned that Liam Gutkin's been on every point. I think it serves Kelvin well to have longer points and make Gutkin play some defense, because he's really been a lot of SJR's offense so far. And here is Gutkin on the mark against Quinn Wilson. Advance to Cam Tramley, who looks to the end zone, trying to find his buddy Quinn. Great layout bid by Quinn Wilson. Just couldn't find the disc on the end of that layout. And it's turned back over, and we see Gutkin walking up to the SGR goal line.
Yeah, a great look on that upwind, and I think sometimes when you're going upwind, you just got to take those shots when you got your strong receivers going deep. But back with SJR now. Willits with the disc. Gets it up to Ben Cockshot. Gets it to Daniela. Back to Ben in the middle. Gets it to Liam. And he puts it deep for Katie Dodgson. She's going to track that one down, and she does. And that's a great throw and a great cut by Katie Dodgson downfield, and Liam Gutkin found her.
Liam Gutkin, it's 4-3 now for Kelvin. SJR still down 1 break. Liam Gutkin really doing most of the work for the SJR offense at this point in terms of keeping the disc alive, both with his cutting and with his layout grabs, and also obviously with that big huck to the end zone just now for a successful goal.
I think the one thing that I like, though, is that he's not trying to do everything. He's letting the game come to him. You know, he's out there, he's making the right cuts, but he's also allowing his teammates to have the space to make the plays they need to do. And in talking to Dean Wright before the game, he says that's what's made Liam's game so successful this weekend, is he's trusted his teammates, and that's why everyone on SGR is playing well, is they feel that trust and they feel that support from one of their best players, and everyone's raising to that level.
You might have seen them a bit more than I have this weekend, Mark. Has Liam been playing this much in all the other games? I noticed that on the line right now, he's on his knees. And I'm not saying he's got nothing left in the tank. I'm just saying we're only 7 points into the final here, and he appears to be playing every point. I just don't know how, against a team like Kelvin, where they send wave after wave, how he can survive the balance of the game at that rate.
I would personally be a little concerned about his usage so far, and that he's getting a lot of points and he's putting a lot of miles in on those points. But he is a provincial track star, competing in provincials in multiple events. I know he qualified for provincials in the long jump just last weekend. So, you know, he's been training for both ultimate and track, so his lungs are probably in good shape. But I would like for him to get a little bit more of a rest moving forward, especially if SGR is going to need to make a late game push. But once again, we see another out of bounds pull from SJR, and Kelvin's going to get to set up a brick. And they've got Zach Toddle set up in isolation here, probably looking to take advantage of all the space he's offered.
Sam Peterson has the disc on the brick mark. He swings it this way, I think, to Evan Miles, who then relays the disc over to Toddle. Toddle looking to the middle, again to Peterson. Peterson, a little bit tunnel vision there on Tuttle. Couldn't find him. SJR knew who he was looking to and clamped it down, made the D.
It's Ian Yonkman on the block there. And Liam Gutkin gets it up to Caitlin Cho. They're knocking on the door again. And she gets it up to, I believe that's Hallie Cochran there. As SJR scores that upwind break and ties the game at 4.
That's exactly right, Mark. That is a break. We're back on serve to 4-4. Each team with a break this half. I think SJR, as I say, locked in on the fact that the Kelvin line that was out there, they knew Sam Peterson would be looking for Tuttle. They knew Tuttle would be looking for Peterson. And it looks like they put some clamp down defenders on those two guys. And not only got a D, but got a D on a very short field inside Kelvin's brick mark. And were able to take advantage.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the important things about a game. I think the wind switch sort of back to that upwind downwind is when you can get a short field turnover when you're about to score on the upwind end zone. That's a really important thing, and it's a motivation booster. SJR wasn't able to capitalize it on the drop pull a couple of points ago, but this time they made no mistake as Caitlin Cho found Hallie Cochran to tie this game at 4.
So we've got a clean slate. I think we should remind the viewers and me. I know the other games have been games to 13. That's at least the quarterfinals and semifinals today. Are we going to 13 again for the final, or is it 15?
Games are to 15 in the finals. So if first team to reach 8 points scored is when we'll take our halftime. But game is to 15 today. Just a couple points longer, as this is the most important game of the weekend.
Gutkin out there again, and once again pulling to Kelvin. Pulls hanging. Will be a nice one if it stays in bounds, which it does, and also looks like it forces Kelvin to start on the forced side. Quinn Wilson has the disc centered and throws upfield but finds nobody. Turnover at about the Kelvin brick mark once again.
Bryn Murphy made a really good break on the offensive player there to get in front of her before she could catch the disc, and that's why no one caught the disc there. But SJR is moving it here. There's a call. Not sure what has been called, but the disc is going back to Liam Gutkin.
I believe it was a pick on the individual that received the disc.
That's why there's two of us here. Between the two of us, we have good a set of eyes. And Bryn Murphy takes that one off her shoelaces on the cheeky inside flick from Liam Gutkin. And that's Ethan Lynn with the disc. Gets it to Gutkin, who catches it just in front of.
Oh, we got a
Quinn
debate
Wilson,
here, in or out debate.
But Sam Peterson is calling Gutkin not in, which if it's determined he wasn't in, that is going to be a turnover. And we're getting it all this game. Drop pull, potentially a spike before a goal has been scored.
Yep, good.
But hard to tell.
Wilson and Gutkin have been going back and forth against each other the past few points, and in a good way. It's been layouts from both players, a lot of effort. And there Gutkin thought he had a score, wanted to hot dog it a little bit on Wilson. Kelvin's done the nice thing and let Liam have the disc back on the goal line.
I think a foul has been called by Ethan Lynn on Sam Peterson's dump defense. Sam Peterson's a very physical player. That's going to be a tough one. That might be out the back. It's definitely out the back. The SJR parents are excited, but not necessarily seeing that the disc is out of the field of play. So no goal there for SJR, and Kelvin's going to have a chance to take the lead up 5-4, but currently 4-all.
Yeah, you know what? That made it look like a really short field. The throw by Gutkin looked like a good one. I'm surprised that went out the back. In any event, Tuttle has it back at his own goal line. About 5 yards inbounds. He's looking for an option. Looks like a call's been made. And it looks like it might be another foul between the Peterson-Lynn mark combination. Disc is back in. I expect it's all 0, but I'm not sure. Zach Tuttle looking for an option.
That is a nice run through D by Liam Gutkin. I thought we almost had a Callahan coming up here.
I thought so too. It was not a great delivery by Tuttle. He should have seen or known the matchup. Can't throw a lollipop like that against Gutkin. Ooh, Liam.
And Liam once again going back to the well with that high release flick, and unfortunately was not able to connect this time.
So a few not so great turnovers. Again, a little bit of ping pong between the two teams, but a lot of these turnovers are based on defensive effort. Now we see Sam Peterson with a nice cut coming across the face of Tottle. Gets it back to Tottle, who goes upfield. Lindsay with the disc. Lindsay Marshall, to be specific. She dumps it to Quinn Wilson. Some kind of call is made. Mark, did you see it?
Yeah, I think a pick call was made there. My guess is that Gutkin is going to say that I thought he was going to say that he wasn't able to put a mark on, and Quinn Wilson will be able to keep the disc. But anyways, the disc has gone back to Lindsay.
And Lindsay Marshall is apparently the president of Kelvin. She finds Peterson, and Peterson immediately sends it. Saw his teammates Wilson and Santos both with advantage against their defenders, but simply outthrew them.
My guess is that that throw was for Quinn Wilson, but Santos making a valiant effort on the backside, trying to catch up, and seeing some pretty good speed from him there as well. Yonkman with the disc, getting over to Gutkin, continues it over to Willits, but then a travel's called. Thankfully, that one was called loud enough on the field that even if we didn't see it, we were able to know what's going on.
Not sure why the stoppage with the disc there. I expect it's going to go back, and it is going back now.
So disc back to Gutkin in the middle. He gets it up to Caitlin Cho. And Sam Peterson calls Ethan Lynn out of bounds, but I think immediately with the my bad realizes he was incorrect. I believe that is Hallie Cochran with the disc, and she gets it up to Caitlin Cho, who is churning the lanes right now. She's looking for another pass, and Gutkin hits the ground again. And he throws it long looking for Willits, and I think once again he's out the back. Yeah. This field's a little bit shorter than they've been playing on all weekend, and Gutkin hasn't made that adjustment yet on his throws.
No, he hasn't. It's a couple of throws that have actually looked like they had good shape and have gone long, both on this point. Worth mentioning, I think, that the wind at this point is essentially a non-factor. The temperature, however, is a growing factor. I think we're, with the sun and the heat at this point, probably approaching 30 degrees. I think it is taking a bit of toll on the players.
Yeah, I definitely can feel that it's ratcheted up a few degrees, both metaphorically and physically out here. But we get Bryn Murphy with another run through D. She's a very strong athlete from SJR. Fun fact, she won SJR's Female Athlete of the Year when she was in grade 10, and that's for the entire school. We've got Caitlin Cho getting it back to Liam Gutkin, and he finds Murphy, and she completes the bookends there with the D and the goal.
And that's another break for SJR, Mark. They're up 5-4 now. They pulled to start the game, and they're now up a break at this stage of the game.
I think at this point you have to give Gutkin a break. You know he wants to go every point, but think wisely. Dean Wright's letting take this one off. Get some hungry legs out there, some players who want to get out there and follow the example that he's been setting so far this game.
We may have a timeout called here, Mark. It looks like the coaches on the field. Doesn't look like either teams are heading to their respective lines, so I think there might be a timeout called here at 5-4. I suspect by Kelvin, having just gotten broken twice in a row.
I think that's a really strong suspicion. Did I just make up a word? Sure did.
You did. So we have the honor today of being surrounded by two of the top junior coaches here in Manitoba. We've got the coaches of both the top boys and top girls teams for national competition. Daniel Plurd for MoFo boys, Karen Hatch for MoFo girls. I know Daniel's been around for a bit of the weekend, as has Karen. Got Daniel beside me here. This is Daniel Plurd, again, coach of MoFo boys. I wonder, Daniel, if you have any thoughts or comments on anything you've seen this weekend, either from individual players or from the collective of players this weekend?
I actually haven't been able to see that much of the weekend, but I did get to see the league game between Kelvin and SJR. So it's interesting to see them matching up again here. I know in the league game, both teams were missing a number of their key players, and so it wasn't necessarily a good reflection of what they can both do, but it was quite a close game there, so I'd expect it to be exactly what we've seen so far today here.
And they were in the league match, they were missing those key players because those players were at high school nationals, is that right?
Yes, they had just gotten back, I believe it was the Tuesday after high school nationals, so a lot of players were given the day off, I think, to recover from that.
So of the players we're seeing here today in this finals match, Kelvin and SJR, how many players on each team do you expect to have on your MoFo boys team this upcoming summer?
There's definitely a number of guys on both teams that I'm looking at. I think that these two teams will probably have sort of a significant contingent on the MoFo boys team. They both got a lot of good top end athletes, as well as a lot of good depth players as well. So.
And lastly, any specific boys player that's impressed you through these first 9 points to a 5-4 SJR lead?
Well, we've been talking a lot about him on the SJR side. Liam's obviously been playing a lot, and he's had some good throws. I've also seen some good play on the other side out of both Toddle and Peterson. They've been making some plays, and then Quinn's been playing some tight D2 on the Kelvin side.
Thank you very much, Daniel.
Always a pleasure to have Daniel join the broadcast. And as we come out this timeout, I guess a timeout was enough time for Liam Gutkin to regenerate, as he's back on the line here. And I'm shocked that he's played all 9 points and still going strong and making a statement. But I think he's going to need to get a rest, because this Kelvin team, as Kyle alluded to earlier, is very deep. And I think we've seen some teams in this tournament try to run their top player a bunch of points in a row against Kelvin and have them tire out in the second half, because just the different matchups that Kelvin can throw at you. So I personally would like for Gutkin to get a little bit more rest than just timeout calls. But he's out here regardless.
And it looks like he's about to make the first pull out of the timeout. Again, SJR up 5-4. Kelvin receiving with a lot of the usual suspects. Toddle gives Gutkin the signal that he's ready, and Toddle catches the pull somewhat awkwardly. As you probably know, the pull's the only throw that you're allowed to let come to ground and still maintain possession. But Toddle catches that one and sets the play in motion. Coco Diamond Burchuk finds Adam fast on the near side. Toddle with the in cut even nearer to us. He's kind of pinned right up against the near sideline here. But the mark is not denying the middle, so he gets an easy reset to Sam Peterson, who finds Delaney Sharp, who attempts a throw to Toddle. He's unable to come down with it.
And Daniela just goes after it right away, looking for Alex Dubitz, but double coverage there.
Yes, and Megan Gill successfully blocks the disc to the ground.
You know, when
Cam Tramley starts with the disc.
When you're doing a fast break like that, I think you want to make sure you know where you're looking to throw. I think Daniela picked that one up, didn't necessarily have the idea in her head who she wanted to throw to, and just kind of forced it when she had the opportunity.
Looks like a little indecision here from the Kelvin Cutters as to not knowing what they want Peterson to see. The disc is now in Toddle's hands. He's got, looks like Gillis has a swing, finds Peterson upfield. Peterson, as often off those in cuts, is turning around and looking to go to the end zone. Finds his buddy Toddle, almost in but not quite. Tuttle lands on the goal line.
Okay, I'm back.
He's looking for an option. Not finding one thus far, but finds Peterson for the easy dump. Kelvin still forcing it up this side and right into the defense.
And that's another block for Bryn Murphy, who is making her mark on this game so far with a bunch of defensive plays. I was just about to comment on how Kelvin just seemed a little bit more patient at that point. They weren't forcing anything. Did a really good job of not, once they got to that coffin corner, not forcing any throws into tight spaces. But as soon as I thought it, something different happened.
Kelvin's not doing a great job of using the whole width of the field, despite the fact that it's there for them in these relatively calm conditions. Here they are centered in the middle of the field, giving themselves many more throwing options. Tuttle can look left, look right, goes left with it, and finds Delaney Sharp for the goal. Sorry, Coco Diamond Burchuk.
And it's tied up at 5s here. We're getting a nice back and forth battle. We saw, a nice poach block there by Sam Peterson to get the disc back for Kelvin. But as I was saying, I think Kelvin at that point was doing a much better job of just being patient and not forcing the first look they saw. They got away with that early. They were hitting a couple shots, and Santos bailed them out on the first one. But in the last couple points, when SJR was starting to make their run, it's because Kelvin was sort of taking that first shot that caught their eye. It maybe wasn't always the right shot. At that point, they did a better job of swinging the disc and being patient, and for the most part, really good offense there by Kelvin.
I suspect that it was a point of discussion in that most recent timeout to settle it down in exactly that way. I'm sure Will Conrad, in his usual calm demeanor, was able to relay that to all of his players, that essentially he needed or wanted everybody just to calm down and take that extra time and not look to score on the very first pass after every single time they get possession.
Yeah, definitely. And you sort of that point sort of epitomized Will Conrad. Just a really strong, steady presence. And as you said, very calm. He's not getting fired up and yelling at them over there. He's just going to tell them what they need to hear and do it in a really, really pleasant manner.
Mark, we've just got word that Liam Gutkin is taking a point off here.
Stop the presses. All right, so we're going to see who steps up for SJR with Gutkin on the sideline at this 5-5 point.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually that he would see his first break on a receiving point, on an offensive point, when they're basically looking to score without the need for a turnover. But nonetheless, he's not on the field for this tie game point.
Yeah, I would have put my money on him getting a break last point, but I think the coaching staff at SJR recognizing that Liam maybe needs a bit of a break and giving him one here. So we've got Ben Cockshot with the disc in the middle. He gets it up to Bryn Murphy, makes that second effort catch. And we had some tight defense there and a pretty aggressive mark by the Kelvin defender on Bryn Murphy. And the last minute she tries to make a throw and it unfortunately finds the ground before finding a teammate.
Tramley picks the disc up for Kelvin at midfield. Finds Wilson, but a call's been made. I believe a pick was called by the defender that was covering Wilson, so the disc will go back to Cam Tramley. And it'll come in at the stall count that Tramley had gotten to previously. Finds Santos in the middle, who looks to the end zone. Ooh, and a nice read by Quinn Wilson. Not such a great read by the defender. Allows Quinn Wilson to make a spectacular grab for a 6-5 Kelvin lead.
Yeah, there was a great job of securing the pass by Wilson there. Sort of started tailing over him, and he decided to give up his body and make the two-hand pancake layout catch there.
Yeah, those two-hand pancake catches, not my favorite catch because I find it can often lead to injury in shoulder or even wrist. But Quinn Wilson made it look easy.
And with that, Kelvin retakes the lead. They're up now 6-5 on SJR. Back on serve as Kelvin started this game on offense. So not a whole lot separating these two teams, and that's why they're in the finals right now, as they've been the strongest teams all weekend for sure.
Oh, gotcha.
Only thing that I've noticed is that Kelvin is looking stronger these last 2 points, so they're on a bit of a run since that timeout. I think based on the body language between the two teams, this point may be crucial. Gutkin back out there, but the Kelvin energy has definitely risen since the timeout. The SGR energy has gone down both on the field and in terms of sideline players. This will be a crucial point if SGR is to stay in this one, in my view.
Yeah, Kelvin's definitely rocking with a little bit more swagger right now. You saw Quinn Wilson after making that grab to secure the point last one, getting up, throwing the disc out the back of the end zone, and just sort of getting his teammates hyped up. Got Willits catching the pull, and he does that. Gets it up to Ben in the middle. Ben over to Yonkman. Back to Ben. And Bryn Murphy makes the pass.
That's a great catch.
That's a tough one, especially since her defender continued to run through the disc.
I'm pretty sure she still has it in the same grab that she caught the disc in.
And not sure what happened there, but looks like 2 layout bids and no one catches the disc, so that disc is going back to Kelvin. Great play.
A lot of effort on that play.
Maximum effort, some might say.
Kelvin ends up with the disc out of it. Toddle at midfield. Peterson ran all the way out and all the way back under, unsurprisingly open for the pass. Looking for his buddy Toddle again. Once again, Toddle will be... SJR says not quite in the end zone. So Toddle will have it on the goal line with a fresh stall count.
This is where they were 2 points ago, and this is where we saw some really good patience from them, and they're doing it again, not forcing anything.
Sam Peterson looks to have missed a teammate there. Cam coming across, but finds Coco. Unfortunately, throws it a bit behind her, making it a tough grab for her, and the disc ends up on the ground.
Yeah, Katie Hodgson did a really good job of taking that outside line to the disc and forcing the throw inside, but another forced throw here.
Cam Tramley with another layout D. Disc is 5 yards from the goal. Toddle with the pickup. He's looking to the end zone. He has Peterson on an easy swing. Chooses to avoid that and looks for brother Riley Peterson, seeing his first action of the final. Unfortunately unsuccessful, and it's a turnover back to SGR once again.
Got Ben with the disc, and I think one thing I'm noticing is that Gutkin's not getting as open easy downfield as he had been the first 9 points, and looks like that pass was thrown to the ground because of a foul. I think the defensive player might have actually called it on herself there. So we're going to be coming in installing 0 here. Over to Willits. He shoots it. It pops up a little higher than he wanted.
Sam Peterson gets the disc, but in Liam Gutkin's opinion also got the body, and it looks like a foul call has been made by Gutkin. Sam Peterson claiming and explaining his case to Gutkin of how he got the disc, but Gutkin validly disagrees. Disc is going to be going back to thrower since the two of them do not agree on what the proper outcome of that play was.
And that's the beauty of Ultimate, is that sometimes we can disagree, but we're still friends at the end of the day. Nice cut there by Ben. It's good to see that other players on SG are really running hard. Over to Yonkman. Yonkman gets it up to Gutkin. And he puts it for Willits, but I think that one might trail out the sideline. And it does just that. But a nice catch by the parent.
That was a nice catch. And he put it right back to the spot where it should have been. That's also a nice touch. Kelvin with the disc. It's Toddle. 15 yards outside his own goal. Looking for Peterson, who still looks to have pretty fresh legs. Well into the game here. Peterson back to Toddle. Finds Cam. Tramley looks back to Toddle. Around to Peterson. Peterson with a lot of open space on that side. Looks to throw end zone. Not his intended target. He was looking for Coco Diamond Burchuk. It went over her head. Cam Tramley runs in there, picks up the garbage for a Kelvin goal and a Kelvin break to make it a 7-5 game.
And I think with that, we're going to see an SJR timeout. They need to regroup, and I think we were right by being worried about the amount of points that Liam Gutkin was playing, because he looked a lot more tired during that point. And after that point was scored by Kelvin, he's sort of bent over halfway and looks pretty tired, and it's only the first half. We haven't even taken halftime yet, so he's going to need, I think, a couple more points off as we go. But first things first is they got to score one and get it on the board.
It's as you said, Mark, he's not only playing all the minutes, but he's playing the hard minutes. Every point you can see he's either battling with Quinn Wilson, multiple layouts and efforts between the two of them, or Sam Peterson, multiple efforts, cuts and layouts between the two of them.
So during our last timeout, we had a talk with the coach of Mofo Boys, Daniel Plurd. So this timeout, we're going to bring in the coach of Mofo Girls, Karen Hatch. And Karen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. It's nice to be here.
So Karen, watching this game, we're seeing a lot of strong play from the women out there. Which women have you coached in the past, and which ones are you hoping to coach in the future?
I've coached quite a bit from SJR, like Caitlin Cho and Daniela. There's some new rising stars coming out of there, really young, like Bryn Murphy, and there's Maddie Bordiski on that team as well. I've also coached a couple of Kelvin girls, like Megan and Cassidy, and there's some few girls in there, Coco, Lindsay, that are pretty shining right now. They're looking really good, really athletic. That's something that I'm looking forward to this summer.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's great to see just the growth of the sport, and now here we have 55 women trying out for our provincial teams, and hopefully more after this weekend. You've been around all weekend, watching, helping out. How do you think that things are looking for women's ultimate in Manitoba?
I think it's growing more than ever at this point. Part of why I wanted to start coaching was to get girls wanting to come into the program, to the women's program, and make the sport really big in Manitoba. I hope I've been accomplishing my task of doing so, and I've really seen lots of teams utilizing more girls on the field, and the athleticism really showing through the girls' play, and I think that's really important to continue growing the women's program in Manitoba and as well as Canada and internationally.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that we're all happy to have Karen on our coaching staff here, because she does a great job with these girls, and she's a great player in her own rights. So thanks, Karen, for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the finals.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah, that was really a nice interview.
Well, thanks for that, Mark, and thanks for that, Karen. The players and teams appear to be a little bit slower with this timeout than the last one. Mark, you and I have already talked about the game being to 15 points, so halftime when one of the teams gets to 8. But if I'm not mistaken, there's also a time cap to this game as well. Is that right?
Yes, all games have been time capped after an hour and 25 minutes. That's when the hard cap goes. My assumption is that we were doing the same thing here for the finals. So the game started at 4:35, meaning we are about 25 minutes from hard cap.
And so, yes, we're an hour into the game, 25 minutes from hard cap, meaning at some point here we expect one of the teams will get 8 points, getting us to halftime. Is halftime 5 minutes?
Yeah, generally 5 minutes. If the teams want to go a little quicker, they have the right to do so.
And then we're going to expect to hear some kind of horn or siren letting us know at effectively the 85-minute mark, which is 6 p.m. for us, that will be the last point of the game. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. And if after that point things are tied, we play one more point. But if it's not, then that's the end of the game.
Safe to say that SJR needs to score this point to have any chance of winning this game?
This is definitely a very important point, crucial for them to score. And Kelvin gives them a little bit of a helping hand by giving me a free 15 yards with that out-of-bounds pull. Be interesting to see just sort of, how SJR is moving. They haven't been as active downfield as they had been in the first half of the game. But Bryn Murphy's a player who's been cutting very hard for them all game, and will continue to do so as she gets the disc right here. She gets it over to that is Alex Dubitz, back in the middle to Daniela. And a foul on the throw as Daniela tries to get it to Liam.
Yeah, no, one of them was an adopted son. Remember that story? Yeah.
We check the disc back in as the disc goes to Gutkin, and he does not make the catch.
Quinn Wilson picks it up real fast. He was looking to score quickly. Smartly did not make a throw to the end zone. Instead, Kelvin resets, centers to Toddle, and Wilson becomes the target in the end zone for the goal. A nice awareness grab by Quinn Wilson. Knew he was near that back line, made sure to get his left foot in after making the catch. Ultimate 1 point of contact inbounds means you're inbounds. Successful goal. Quinn Wilson to take Kelvin to half, 8-5 with a break.
Yeah, that's a tough one for SJR. They took the timeout, hoping to do what Kelvin did after their timeout, which was score a bunch of points in a row and regroup. They had a couple, they good offensive flow going there, but unfortunately Gutkin wasn't able to come up with the grab, and Kelvin was able to make them capitalize.
Yeah, Kelvin came out of the gate in that half looking very good. SJR had a real nice pushback, played very well in the middle of that half, and then Kelvin took that timeout and really hasn't looked back. And at this point, it's looking like they just have not only the physical energy, but the mental energy to keep imposing their will, and hence the last 3 points before halftime go to Kelvin.
And we are back here at the start of the second half. We've got Kelvin up 8-5 against St. John's Ravenscourt, and they are about to pull. Now, some of the storylines we saw in the first half, Kyle, is that Kelvin's depth really came through in the second half there of the first half.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think I had mentioned that Kelvin took a timeout and scored 3 goals off that timeout, but actually 4 goals in a row. They were down 5-4. Have taken half 8-5, and I truly believe it's on the strength of the depth and that they can roll player after player out onto the field with effort and with contribution on the field.
And the second half starts off with Quinn Wilson making that pull. Willits picks it up, gets it to Gutkin. A little dicier than they wanted it to be there.
Yeah, I think a little miscommunication right off the outset by SJR as to who was going to be picking up that disc.
Travel called on Nathan Lee Wing, and then he throws up to Caitlin Cho, who continues to be a beast downfield, but unfortunately throws it over Katie Dodgson's head. And
Quinn Wilson gets that D and sends it immediately to your boy Pizza Shorts. Oh, Steven Fedorkovich.
Unfortunately, maybe some grease from those pizza shorts on his hands as he drops it.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for him. Could have gotten himself on the score sheet, but Kelvin still looking like a dominant team and looking like they have the legs.
Gutkin gets it to Hallie Cochran in the middle, and she gets it up to Katie Dodgson. The SJR downfield women are just tearing it up. She doesn't have any options, but gets it over to Willits, who does a great swing over to Lee Wing.
Yeah, I've been very impressed by the undercutting. And I mean undercuts by the SGR girls. Very good in cuts for good yardage.
And on cue, Caitlin Cho gets another one. I think the big thing is that they need to get continuation off those. They're getting one cut and then having to reset it and stalling their offense. And Gutkin once again on the ground making a catch.
Yeah, you're kind of right about that, Mark. They're getting those nice gainers, 10, 15, even 20 yards to their girls in the middle of the field, not just on the side, but in the middle, so that they have a lot of space to throw to. But they need to get those upfield receiving options from those catches. And again, we see that it's kind of stuck in Cho's hands.
And we have a floated.
Ooh, nice grab.
Oh,
he didn't get it.
Defensive play there.
I thought that the SJR receiver came up with that. But if that was a D, then Cam Tramley deserves some honors for that one.
And we'll give him those honors because he made a great effort there that at least caused the SGR player into an uncomfortable catching position.
Fedorkovich finds the catch on the under. Might have wiped his hands off since that deep cut. He also delivers the disc to Coco, finds Wilson upfield. Wilson looking for somebody. Doesn't get a lot of help and ends up turning it over at the high stall.
Ooh, and that's a great block by Caitlin Cho, and Liam Gutkin tries to give her the double happiness, but unfortunately not able to connect on that bid.
She made as good a bid as she could make. It was just out of her reach. Quinn Wilson sends the disc downfield. Cam Tramley is there all over the field on this point. Looking for some help. He has an option to call timeout, is not taking that option, instead getting to a high stall, and does find Wilson on the dump. Wilson then sends it apparently 10 to 15 or 20 yards out the back of the end zone.
Took a page out of the Liam Gutkin book there and threw it out the back of the end zone.
Well, that's harsh but fair. This will give the opportunity for both teams to get a little rest as the disc is walked up a distance of about 40 yards to the front of the end zone.
SJR really is going to need to make sure that they punch this one in, because being down 3 at this point in the game, they need to make sure they got to cut into this lead and get it to 2.
Yeah, the clock is literally ticking away on them. There's only 11 minutes left, in the game. Unfortunately, they end up making a quick turn and essentially giving it back to Kelvin on SJR's brick mark. Wilson in the middle of the field finds Tramley on the break side of the field. Tramley looks to the end zone looking for Wilson. Not in Gutkin's house, though.
Not up in here.
Also, that one might have been out the back of that end zone. Both teams having some trouble with the back of the end zone on our right side here, Mark.
Ooh, and that's a nice throw by Gutkin, trying to find Hallie Cochran deep, and tough catch to make. That's coming in very fast. I think that the wind has switched on us a little bit, though, and it's actually now either a bit of a crosswind or even at the back of SJR. So they started this point going upwind and now have the downwind option.
If this one stays in bounds, Quinn Wilson's going to have it, and he does. So Kelvin goes into that wind, scores again, another break, this time to make it 9-5.
And I think if you're SJR, you've got to find the answer quick here, as you're running out of time, but you're also getting at a larger deficit, being up 1 and now down 4. There's, it's not for lack of trying. There's great effort out there and some great individual efforts, and I think we're just, as I said, that depth of Kelvin. It's just each point it seems like a new player is making a play. But that being said, Quinn Wilson's also been on the receiving end a lot in this run, and catching a lot of goals for this team.
Quinn Wilson is starting to stand out as one of the better players out there on the field, unsurprisingly. But yeah, these past few points, he's really stood out. SJR needs somebody like that to come to the front. Kelvin's had multiple players step up in this game. SJR needs a different player to step up, someone other than Gutkin or Cho. They need somebody else to either throw a goal or score a goal. They need a little bit of help from some of that supporting cast, and as you said, it's going to happen real quick because the clock is ticking away, and this game is going to certainly be shortened.
Yeah, I think if you're SJR, you need to string your cuts together. As we talked about, they're getting really good undercuts, but their next pass is usually always a dump pass back to the handler, and they're not stringing together big gainers. But we have Emily Cho catching it here. And once again, we don't get that downfield option that is going to just help them chew up yards fast. It has to always sort of be reset, and almost it's a grind every time. Daniela with the disc, though. She gets it up to Ethan.
He should have her back, but he didn't get that throw off.
Swings
Might have been the toddle arms on that one.
Those are some long arms, and they got gloves on the end of them. Disc is moved up now. Got it to Eli. Back to Ben in the middle. Ben doesn't see an option he wants, and unfortunately the option he does choose to throw to is those long arms of Zach Tottle.
Unfortunately, he didn't look to see that there was an open dump. Tottle was there, made the easy D, waited the exact right amount of time before putting it to the end zone to his teammate. I believe that's Ethan Boyda, number 7. And Tottle essentially puts the perfect throw right to the back of the end zone for Boyda to run onto that one.
And that continues the Kelvin run to 6 points after going down 5-4 to SJR, calling that timeout. They've scored every point since then, and we've played 6. So, the players are doing great, but I think you start this momentum shift with the timeout call by the coaching staff at Kelvin.
Yeah, and it is it's obviously an experienced coaching staff on the SJR side, but it's also an experienced coaching staff on the Kelvin side. Will Conrad's been working with these same players for several years, knows the players, knows the vibe of the team, knows what the team needs. Obviously a great timeout call, and I think, Mark, that I think we're going to not only have a national championship on the Kelvin trophy case this year, but I think it's safe to say at this point that we're going to have a provincial championship on the Kelvin trophy case this year as well.
It's looking that way, Kyle, and all SJR can do is try to prove you wrong and make you commentator curse Kelvin here, but they're running out of time, and this Kelvin team looks very strong right now. I think one thing that I've seen Kelvin doing a really good job of is getting resets by clearing their handlers out of the dump space and bringing a cutter back in. We've seen Quinn Wilson leave the handler space. Zach Todd will come under from a cutter spot into that spot he vacated, and then throwing it deep to Quinn. And that's been a really good way for them to reset the disc, but then also get some offense out of it. Once again, we have Caitlin Cho getting a really strong undercut, continuing it up to Gutkin, and there we go, a string of passes.
That's beautiful offense.
There it is.
That was beautiful offense.
And that's what we've been wanting to see from them, is putting together a couple passes in a row to open up that deep shot. They were able to, go from Cho to Gutkin and then have Moda streaking deep to score the goal and stop the Kelvin run.
And when offense is good, offense is easy. You get an easy point for Gutkin. You get an easy point for Cho. They contributed. They made plays, but they didn't have to grind it out. And that's key, because now they can go right back out there and try to get another.
Yeah, it's definitely important with SJR, who's maybe running shorter lines than Kelvin, to score points easy at this point in the game if they want to make a comeback here. And now if I'm Kelvin, I want to make this point either as, score it quickly, or I want to make it as long as possible and try to tire out those SJR players, while also understanding that the clock is their friend at this point in the game.
Yes, big time. Kelvin would be perfectly fine playing a 5-minute point here, or, of course, scoring the disc. The only thing they want to do is not give up a quick one like they just did, and at least make these SGR defenders put in the work. Obviously, SGR pulling and starting on defense.
Got Gutkin on the pull. Ever since that first one going out of bounds, he's been throwing some good ones out there.
And on the Kelvin side, they've loaded up a line. They are not taking their foot off the gas based on the 7 players they put on the field here. Disc landed in on the pull, but then rolled out. So we're about to see Santos pick up the disc and take it right where he's standing. Gets an easy throw off to Tottle. He finds Wilson in the middle of the field, looking back to Tottle. And they're looking to score quick. It's Tottle to Wilson. Complete. Wilson is within 5 yards of the goal. Tottle is already up with the disc. Easily gets it back. And then throws the score very quickly to Lindsay Marshall. Once again, the president of Kelvin shows up for another goal. 11-6 Kelvin with a quick response.
And that score was not fake news. And with that, you hear Kelvin chanting, "That's our president," which I feel like a lot of people aren't chanting these days with pride. That's right, we're getting political here.
Pretty good. That was pretty good.
But with that score, we have it now
11-6 for Kelvin. Obviously, that 6-point run is going to make it an insurmountable type of situation, especially if Kelvin can keep rolling 7 players out there on offense who are fresh and can score with that much ease. SJR can also roll 7 players on the field, score quickly on offense, but the problem is with this deficit, they can't just trade points. They have to be able to get some breaks. And as you saw, it was a little bit too easy for the Kelvin offense. Tottle, even though he had thrown the 50-yard throw downfield, was the first one there and able to get the dump pass back. And if that's going to keep happening, then they're going to keep scoring.
Yeah, we definitely, I think, comes back to SJR needing to just string passes together here, upfield passes, as opposed to keep continually resetting the disc. And if Kelvin can force them into continually resetting it, that's when the turnovers happen, and that's when they capitalize. We've seen a good amount of players, a switch up of lines here by Kelvin, trying to get everyone in.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to my boy Anton Sokalski, making his first appearance on the field. He's here on the near side, the closest Kelvin player to us right now.
And that's we're off to a good start here. But unfortunately, the good start has not continued into a good middle as Kelvin gets the block. Now the Kelvin players
has the disc. Sorry, Mark.
Oh no, just the Kelvin players don't have numbers on their jerseys, so
They don't.
picking out these new players who are making a contribution is a little bit hard at times.
I'm doing my best,
And
but I
that's-
didn't find them all.
It's a great grab by Ben.
Interestingly, a travel call made by Kelvin.
Is that going to stay in?
Unfortunately not, as the end of this end zone also becoming a difficulty.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of moonwalking there. I think a travel was called, and we're actually getting word that this game is not an hour and 25-minute time slot. It's actually an hour and 55-minute time slot. So we still have time in this game, so SJR can still make a comeback. Hard cap will go in half an hour from now.
Well, that's a lot of time. I had better learn these other players' names. I know this is Cam Tramley on the disc. And he's been told by his teammates to just send it downfield due to high stalls. Look at that. Smallest player on the pitch, Anton Sokolski, comes down with it and then makes the flip over to Nolan DeRoche. Nolan throws up to Cam. Cam, I think, heard footsteps, didn't want to get injured, and the disc ends up getting by him.
That was Niels Hurst on the block there. And it's now up to Eli, who gets it up to Maddie Boroditsky. And unfortunately, she just can't quite connect with Daniela on the grab there. And it's now Kelvin's disc once again.
Tramley is the lead handler on this Kelvin line. He picks it up and looks like he gets hand blocked, Mark.
Yeah, that's a nice hand block there by Eli. And that's Niels Hurst picking it up. Finds Daniela. It'd be nice if she had a deep strike, because she does like to throw it long. And right on cue, she does just that.
Oh, great defense there. Positional defense played by, it looks like it's Megan Gillis. She was defending against a guy there, made sure to keep her body between him and the disc. He's obviously a taller player. He couldn't get over her. Great D by Gillis. Tramley with the disc. Another great catch by Anton Sokolski. All over the field on this point.
Just sort of speaking to the depth that Kelvin has, is this is his first point of the game, and he's making plays out there in the provincial finals.
Attempts
Don't hit the
to
rope.
throw to space. Yeah, just for those at home, you can see that yellow line, it just moved. That is a rope that's intended to be a restraining rope 10 feet away from the sideline so that the players have some room to move around the sideline without any impediments.
And SJR trying to score quickly, unfortunately throws it out the side and the back of the field. And
Somebody's breaking up. Is it me?
Looks like Tramley going back for the disc again. I think this is about the 5th time he's picked up the disc on this point, as there's been a few turnovers in each direction.
if I'm SJR, I want to get a turnover right here and try to score quickly, because they're burning their legs, and as we said, that depth of Kelvin's coming through here.
Tramley spinning. He's got that intention to huck on him. So that throw was from Cam Tramley, from an out-of-bounds position, and actually looks to have landed out of bounds, but SJR chose to take it right where it was.
Yeah,
Am I right about that, Mark? They could have walked that all the way back up to the goal line. Am I right
Yeah,
about
Ben
that?
could have walked that right up to the goal line. Instead, he tapped it in about 50 yards away from the scoring end zone and just made the field longer than he needed to.
And SJR did get the short field on a turnover there, but Sokolski just all over the field on this point. What a point he's having. Couple turnovers, but also a couple plays made.
To quote Kyle Parker, we're playing ping pong again.
We really are, Mark. That's just That's a turnover due to a little bit of not taking the throw seriously enough and not focusing enough on the throw. Nice grab by Fast on an in-cut. Adam Fast with the disc. Centers it back to Nolan DeRoche. Nolan's looking to the end zone, looking for his teammate Cam Tramley, hoping Cam could make a play for him, but really that was never going to work out. And the disc back to SGR.
Yeah, Danny's picking it up here. It's unfortunate that they're starting at this point when they could have had this disc on the end zone line a while ago. And SGR throws away, and Kelvin now, if understanding the rules properly, will be able to get the disc on the front cone.
They're going to move it up a bit. That disc might have flown inbounds for just a few yards, but they'll be real close to the end zone if not on it. Looks like we're about essentially at the goal line, a couple yards away. Tramley again starting with the disc. Not a huge fan of that spinorama kind of pivot. He's been using it a bunch on this point. I haven't seen him use it prior to this point. I think it might be associated with the fact that there's no other primary handlers on the field, and he thinks he has to do a little bit more than he otherwise would. In any event, his teammate Fast just got the disc back for him with a very nice foot block.
We're seeing some strong fundamental marking here as we've had back-to-back a hand block followed by a foot block, and now a disc that I'm assuming is going to go out the back, but it's
Fast. And somehow finds him. Adam Fast with the layout grab off the D. Just kind of a circus look by Nolan DeRoche. That ends up in Fast's hands. He puts Kelvin up 12-5.
Yeah, that's got to be a heartbreaker for SJR there. They had a couple opportunities in the end zone, a missed opportunity of getting the disc on the goal line, and then to have Adam Fast make that grab in the back of the end zone there off of a deflected disc. Not a lot going their way right now.
No, not at all. That disc was put up by DeRoche at low stalls, kind of on a hope and a prayer. It was answered, as you said, not much going SGR's way at this point, which is tough for them. I did say 12-5. It is actually 12-6, so we shouldn't take points away from SGR. That's my bad. And we got Kelvin coming out again, and as you see, 7 fresh bodies, all ready to go. Again, some players that have played a few points, some players that have played many, but all pretty fresh. And they're going to come down on defense with a Zach Tuttle pull.
And I think for the most part, SJR is also a fresh line. I think maybe no, actually everyone's fresh from last point. So we're seeing 7 new players on. So let's see what kind of energy we can get in this point here. As the disc is centered to Gutkin, he gets it up to Hallie Cochran in the middle. And then she gets it up to Willits. Nope, that's not Willits. That's Niels Hurst, who gets it to Liam. Liam wants a deep strike here. He might have one from Caitlin Cho, and he puts it up. And that's a beautiful throw.
What a great throw. What a great cut. Unsurprisingly, Gutkin to Cho. That's been the matchup, or that's been the pair, the tandem for SGR through the whole game.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many Caitlin has scored so far, but she's been doing the lion's share of downfield work today. And it's nice for her to get rewarded with a good goal there. Liam did a great job of stepping away from the mark and almost sort of stepping backwards and throwing around and putting the right amount of touch on that disc to get it in bounds for the goal. Down 5, you're Dean Wright or Sean Storm or Steve Barrier right now. What are you telling your team, Kyle?
At this point, I think you're basically, you're definitely encouraging that last point, saying what a great point that was, focusing on that positive. And I think you're telling the team to come out, try to score this point. That's all this line can do. That's all these 7 can do. Just tell them to get out there and do everything they can to get this very point.
You haven't been saying much for 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things is 1 point at a time. You've got the experienced Kelvin players out here, and they know how to handle pressure. They handled it in the national finals this year, where they won national championship against a strong team from Bowmanville. SGR also a really strong team, so this isn't anything new for Kelvin. But I think if you're SGR, you're hoping that the pressure of playing at home in front of your friends and family might get to them and cause for some cracks in the armor.
Pull goes out of bounds. Kelvin will start this offensive possession from their own brick mark. Wilson is going to start with the disc. As he gets there,
Move here at all. That's good.
oh my, he throws into absolute traffic to Sam Peterson. There's been a stoppage called due to what appears to be an injury.
I hope I wasn't on.
Kelvin ran a play that they've been running a lot, which is essentially having the cutter on the left side. As the handler looks out at the disc, looks out at the field, the cutter from the left side is coming under and across the face of that handler, looking to get the disc just on the right side of that handler, about 10 yards upfield. They've been running that a lot, and they just ran it. And Quinn Wilson, even though Peterson was covered tightly, Quinn Wilson said, we're running the play that we want to play. Threw it anyways. Peterson ended up with the catch, but unfortunately an SGR player got injured on the play. So Peterson gets the disc where he made that catch. Now that it's back in play, he gets it up to Santos. Santos finds Wilson further upfield. They're essentially at the SJR brick mark at this point. So they've gained 30 yards of field position in 3 throws, a 10-yard average, which is something you're pretty much looking for. Sorry, 50 yards.
The disc is going back, though, as I think Alex Dubitz called a pick. As Sam Peterson and Ben Cockshot ran through, he didn't have the play on the disc that he wanted, and so the disc goes back to Neil.
Neil looks to the end zone. Quinn Wilson on the layout. Just can't come up with it. Great bid by Quinn Wilson. Would have been for a goal, but unfortunately the throw from Santos came up just a few inches short.
And to no fault of his own, maybe the first spectacular play he has not been able to make this game. That's a tough one, and I don't think anyone blames him that disc hit the ground before he caught it. Hallie Cochran with the disc now. She gets it to Liam. And Liam does a pump fake, spinorama, and then hits an under to Lee Wing. Lee Wing gets it to Ben in the middle. Over to Hallie. This is some good movement by the SJR as Dubitz gets it. He then throws one out to Liam, who catches the disc but is out of bounds.
It looks like Liam had a thought to make a greatest play. In other words, leave from inbounds, catch the disc over the out of bounds area and try to throw it back. But he didn't complete that play. Now the disc going Kelvin's way. Toddle to Santos. Looks like for a goal.
I'm not entirely sure of what's going on. I think that there was some discussion that maybe that disc wasn't brought back in the right place again, but the players have decided to let the play stand, and that is a 13-7 lead for Kelvin.
Yeah, as I was talking about the potential greatest for Gutkin, and again, that would have been just him releasing the disc as opposed to landing out of bounds. It looks like Peterson just took the disc and centered it without checking it in any way. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think he caught everyone off guard with how fast he started that play. And it led to a Kelvin goal there.
Sure did. Nice throw by Toddle and a nice outcut by Santos, who's shown multiple flashes of his speed in this game.
I think one thing to mention is that there have been some calls in this game, but both teams have handled it really well. The respect between these two programs is strong, and the spirit in this game has been high, which is always great to see when there's so much on the line.
So again, just to recap, it looks like we're at 13-7. Game is to 15. If we keep going with these quicker offensive points, it doesn't look like time will be a factor, and we will be able to get to that point total of 15.
We're currently 15 minutes away from our time cap. And yeah, Kelvin's within 2. And at the rate they've been scoring recently, it seems like they will get there. It's a nice pull by Zach Tottle. Ben Cockshot is going to catch the pull and has no immediate option. He throws it to Danny. She turns away, and I think that surprises her. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like she might have already been running away from the disc, thinking that she was not going to be thrown to. But SJR gets it right back.
Yeah, Tottle goes to Megan Gillis on the around flick and just bounces off her hand there. Nice
do you
throw.
think that has something to do with the fact that she's put her hair up, Mark?
You know what? I didn't notice that her hairstyle had changed. But, I think that can be the only explanation, because she is a solid player who will make that grab 99 times out of 100. The disc is now up to Niels Hurst. He gets it up to Eli. Over to Ben. And Ben shoots it, but Megan, who makes the catch this time, hair up and all.
Yeah, and that's what we expect. She made a great grab there. Disc gets centered to Tottle. Again, Tottle with the rip to Santos. Oh, so very close to another Tottle to Santos hookup. Santos sitting on the ground. Looks like he may have called an injury. Looks like he may have winded himself on that layout attempt. If that's the case, then him having caused his own injury, he will be forced to leave this point. Not the whole game, but this point for sure. And in fact, here comes Riley to sub in for him.
The Tottle to Santos connection is the one we saw the point before, and they wanted to repeat history at this point, and unfortunately just out of the reach of Santos as he made a valiant effort to get there. Once again, we've seen any disc that goes up and he is in the vicinity at all, he's making the play for it. But yes, we got Riley Peterson coming in for Santos. One of 2 Petersons that's allowed to get haircuts.
Oh no.
And what a grab by Niels.
That is a grab.
Up to Emily Cho. Emily throws it with Daniela making a great grab. And her throw hits the ground, but that is because she was fouled on the throw. Kelvin's put Delaney on Daniela because of her tight mark, and I think using the big wingspan she has to try to disrupt her throws, and she's done a really good job lately with that. But we saw another SJR turnover, and ping pong once again.
Yeah, we're ping ponging it out there, Mark. 1 throw each at this stage. Hopefully SJR can show us a little bit more possession, especially this close to the goal scoring end zone.
And yeah, that's a goal. We have Eli Firestein catching it in the back of the end zone. Pretty nonchalant for such a big grab.
Yeah, especially since they won the ping pong rally with that last 1 pass possession.
Yeah, I think SJR recognizes that time's not on their side again, and they have to score quickly. And they also had a few of their top players sitting out, so get them back on the field and try to make something special happen now. But with the score being 13-8, it's looking a little dire for SJR at this point.
Good to see Neil Santos doing all right after winding himself on that last point. He's coming out there for this offensive possession.
Yeah, we see a strong line for Kelvin going out. Which I feel like we say every time they send a group of players out there. Both of these teams have great depth, but I think we've seen Kelvin's depth step up a little bit more today to give him this lead.
I would agree. I think we've seen Kelvin's depth. I also think we've seen Kelvin's top players play as their top players. They've played well. I'm not going to say that SGR hasn't played well. Their top players have also played as their top players. I just think Kelvin has had a better game than SGR has had, and there's not a lot of time left, unfortunately, for SGR to come back and show that they can match Kelvin's effort and Kelvin's level of play for today's game.
I definitely agree. I think one thing to note is I think that the way that this game's gone, I don't think a 5-point spread is indicative of how hard fought the points have been. I think there's some points that could have gone either way that has us in a much closer game, just the way that the effort level's been.
Other than that one run of points, these two teams have played each other even. So it was really just that stretch, couple points before half, couple points right after. Without that run, this game has been played even. Quinn Wilson starts with the disc at the brick mark, comes near side to Cam. Cam looking end zone, not seeing anyone there, so finds Toddle on the intermediate route. He boosts it to Cassidy. Ooh, that's real nice. Finds the right receiver, throws the exact right distance and height for her to make the play, and she comes down with it no problem. That is Kelvin's best right there with a beautiful point, Mark Lloyd.
Yeah, definitely, and that sort of speaks to the depth there, is that we're seeing different players step up at different points, and Cassie, really strong provincial team player, but first time that she's really been called on in the deep space today, and she answered the call.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We haven't called her name much. She's a very good player, and shows it on that point. I bet you she's got lots left in the tank. Not sure if she's going on for this D point, but if they do have another O point, I suspect we will see her for that one. If not, here on this D point. I think we're at 14 for Kelvin now. Is that right, Mark?
That is correct.
So their next score will result in the provincial championship.
And if I know Willem Conrad, I think he's making sure his grade 12s are on the line right now, just in case this is the point they score, giving them that opportunity to play their last point for this program. This is a program that people love, and I think I've heard of kids switching schools to play for Kelvin Ultimate, which is something unheard of 10 years ago, but that's the state we are of Ultimate in this province right now.
Yeah, it's nice to hear, as someone who's been around forever, it's nice to hear that Ultimate is worth changing schools for. Other sports always have been. It's nice that Ultimate is too. And also, it's nice to know that Pizza Shorts is in grade 12 so that we get a chance to look at him one more time here on this last point. Or this potential last point, I should say.
You see some new SGR players who've been played a lot in the first half, maybe not as much in the second half, getting out there, and they're running hard. Got Jasper Moda, Bryn Murphy, Katie Dodgson downfield, all working really hard, and Liam Gutkin controlling things in the backfield. Nice grab by Caitlin Show there. She's got Jasper upfield, and he's got Liam, and that's a beautiful throw.
That's a great throw.
And with that, you sort of see what SGR can do when they're all working and they're connecting those downfield passes. We've seen glimpses of it today, and it's nice that they keep going even when things don't look so great in the outcome of this game.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. We've seen glimpses of it specifically from Moda. He was on the receiving end of a real nice offensive point from Gutkin and Cho, and now he's on the throwing end. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from Moda in this game. I'm not familiar with him as a player, but the couple 2-3 times that he's touched the disc here in this second half at least, he's been a very productive part of their offense.
Yeah, definitely. You could see that he was not fazed by the deficit in that point. He wasn't playing like this was his last point. He was playing to get another one. And you see that he's been rewarded by being on the line for this defensive point to try to save their season. You see Steve Barria going up and giving him high fives, recognizing the effort he put in on that point. And that's good to see that he's rewarded for the effort he just put on display there.
Kelvin offense coming out, knowing that the game is in their hands. Gutkin will be pulling right to left as we look at it. Kelvin offense showing readiness very early. Both Quinn Wilson and Zach Tottle with hands up, anxious to get this point started, anxious to get to that end zone for the championship. Peterson's going to be the one to catch the pull. He's going to center to Tottle at the goal line, maybe 5 yards ahead. Tottle, yet another huck. He's looking for Wilson on this one, but look who it is!
Oh, that is a great defensive grab by Nathan Lee Wing.
What a defensive play. Underthrown by Tottle, and they make him pay. Tottle's going end zone again. They are looking to finish it quick here, but again, unsuccessful. This time it's way out of bounds. Tottle, I think, a little bit too trigger happy on that one. I think they're really just looking to end it with one throw. I mean, that's clear, and that time they maybe should have been a little bit more patient.
I don't think we've had enough time to discuss that layout block. There was a lot of action that happened right after it, but that defensive play was unbelievable.
Mark Lloyd-esque, you might say.
I would love to be able to make a block like that someday. Oh, and Jasper Moda doing work again as he receives that short underthrown huck, and he's hitting Caitlin Cho once again wide open on an under. Over to Bryn Murphy.
Moda has been magic these last few points with Gutkin and Cho.
I think SJR is hoping for a little bit more Moda magic before this game's over. The discus set back to Daniela, over to Lee Wing. He's looking in the end zone, puts it up, asking for that Moda magic, and he's out of bounds before not completing the catch as well.
Yeah, he unfortunately would not have had a chance to come down with that one. Already out of bounds, I think, when he made the first contact. So Kelvin has another opportunity here to win the game. Quinn Wilson, will he settle it down? No, not the option he's looking for. He's going to put it deep to Peterson, testing Lee Wing yet again. Not the right decision.
No, and you see some great closing speed once again by Lee Wing that we saw earlier in this point. He is not tired at this point and just able to track that one down and make sure that block happens.
And that's another player really that I at least haven't seen a whole lot of in this game, and he seems to be making some plays now that he's been given the opportunity, at least in this point.
Definitely, and we see a huck up, and Gutkin makes the grab between two Kelvin players. He's got Moda downfield, but instead throws it over to, that's Willits making that catch and making it a little harder than he needed to. Gutkin with the disc once more, back over to Willits. Nice cut by Bryn Murphy. And
that's another point block. This time it's Quinn Wilson with the block on the mark. As you've said earlier, Mark, we're getting a lot of blocks and a lot of good marks causing turnovers. Kelvin with yet another opportunity, and again, they do not capitalize on that opportunity, turning it over one more time inside their own half.
And Daniela gets it up to Moda, and he throws that flick over to Liam.
Noticing now that Moda's left-handed, very impressed.
Daniela with it on the goal line, and gets it into Caitlin Cho, who scores her second goal in a row.
That gets SJR to double digits here. Not out of the woods yet, Kelvin.
I think Kelvin sort of thought that they had this thing in hand and weren't really focusing as much as they needed to on that point there. Just really taking whatever shot they saw, not necessarily it being the best shot, just the first one they saw. And SJR was able to make them pay for that.
So we're creeping up again on what we now know is the time cap for the game, which is 6:30, 2 minutes from now. And yes, it's likely, obviously, that Kelvin is still going to come home with the championship. But you know as a player, Mark, as do I, this is not a circumstance where you want the time to come. You want to win that game. You want to get that 15th point and say that you won the game, as opposed to you hung around long enough and you were there long enough that you simply outlasted them until the time cap. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I would look at more from the perspective of SJR at this point, and that I don't want Kelvin scoring the last point. I want to keep going and keep trying to put points on the board, and there's a different there's a bit of a different feeling when you score to win as opposed to the other team scoring and the time telling you win. So if I'm SJR, I'm trying to take that away from him, and if I'm Kelvin, I'm trying to make sure that we take care of our own business and we don't have the clock bail us out.
Kelvin getting another offensive chance here, working right to left. Tottle fields the pull and gets it back from Cam.
We saw Kelvin running that same play with the closest cutter to us running across the field, but SJR was finally ready for it and threw a poach in the lane to stop it.
So Peterson didn't get the disc on that cut. Cassidy now has the disc on the far side. She's about 20 yards from her own goal.
Some sort of stoppage, maybe a foul, a disc space call.
Peterson seems to get a jump off that stoppage, gets some yardage on his defender. He now has the disc far side, looking for Tottle. Finds Cassidy instead. She goes upfield, looking for Tramley. Almost ends up completing the pass to Bridget Smith, but the disc goes over both Tramley and Smith's head, and it's a turnover over to SJR.
And Niels Hurst gets it up to Daniela, who's looking for some Moda magic, but Caitlin Cho comes out of nowhere and gets the pass.
The crowd goes wild on that one, Mark. What a grab by Cho.
She has been just dominant these last few points. That is an amazing catch, and let's see if SJR can capitalize and reward her for keeping the play alive for them.
She's got the disc again, Mark.
And she gets up to Daniela. And once again, unsure if she's in or not. It seems that anytime someone's close to that space on either team, it's being decided that they're not in. But this one is a goal as SJR continues to fight, and it's now 14-11 for Kelvin.
What a great goal by SJR. That catch by Cho, just such a great catch. Sam Peterson, a worthy defender, was in the space, had the read. She went up against him, no fear, great read herself, came down with that disc, and a very impressive possession thereafter by SJR.
Yeah, and I think Caitlin was maybe a little surprised herself that she ended up with that when she got up and did maybe a little fist pump or sort of shocked reaction, but we're not shocked that she made that play because she's been doing it all game.
So is that 3 goals in a row now, Mark, or 2 goals in a row by SJR?
That is 3 goals in a row.
3 in a row.
Yeah.
Kelvin will have yet another opportunity. You can see in their body language they're not feeling as good about things. SJR's feeling great, ready to pull. Gutkins putting it up as early as possible. Into a bit of a headwind at this point. Santos with the nonchalant grab on the pull. Centers to Wilson. Wilson looking upfield. No one really doing much for him. Santos there on the swing. Couple fakes upfield. Threads one into Cassidy. She has the disc approaching midfield. Gets it to Wilson. Wilson looking to throw long. Wisely decides not to do so. Finds Santos with an easy one. A few fakes by Santos at an upfield look. And there's Wilson on the SJR side of half, looking for his buddy Santos, but no, that disc goes to ground. Again, that was a little bit of a downwind, so the wind was pushing it down, and it's a turnover over to SJR.
Daniela picking it up again for SJR. Gets it up to Liam. Over to Lee Wing.
If SJR scores this one, Mark, I'm not sure we can have a time cap.
And that goes up, but I think it's going to be blocked. Oh.
Great effort by both Cho and Cassidy. Neither of them come down with it as the disc sails out of bounds. It's going to be a turnover to Kelvin. Quinn Wilson going to pick up the disc. He's going to be about 5 yards outside his own goal line.
And that's a tough one for SJR, is that the clock's not on their side right now. This turnover might be counting things down for them.
Santos and Wilson playing a two-man game. Wilson releases upfield. Santos puts it for him, but just out of the reach of Quinn Wilson. He is not feeling good after that layout. Immediately goes to the sideline. He is winded, folks. You can see that the disc is in the center of the field, but Quinn Wilson has ran towards our sideline and is writhing in pain, hoping it's just that he's winded and nothing more, but he hit the ground pretty hard there.
My big concern would be that it would be a shoulder, just with the way he landed in a compromised position. But I think our best bet is maybe just the fact that he's wearing a penny that doesn't have as much sort of compression or support, that he's got a really bad turf burn on his midsection there. But SJR's got the disc going here. We've got Gutkin in the middle. And once again, old reliable Caitlin Cho comes under, gets it. She gets it back to Gutkin. I think he wants a deep strike here.
No, he's not.
But over to Daniela.
He's right. He's on this side of the
Up to Bryn Murphy. Up to Jasper Moda. Gutkin gets it in the middle, and he hits Daniela in the middle of the field for another SJR goal, bringing the score to 14-12.
Oh my goodness. What a run by SJR here. Hopefully they have the time to keep it going. This is quite something. Just for a quick update on Quinn Wilson, he is still down on the near side here, folks. Two of his coaching staff are with him, as well as some other individuals, so people are taking care of him, but he does not look like he's doing well, lying here on the near sideline. As I say that, he's starting to make his way up to his hips, sitting up a bit. Now on his knees, so maybe he's feeling a bit better about things as he starts to get to one leg. So things looking better for Wilson. Hopefully he is okay. In the meantime, we're going to keep playing, ladies and gentlemen. 14-12 is the score for Kelvin. They're going to be Maine to score to win, Mark. That's the way it's looking at this point.
Yeah, with us being so far away from Disc Central, no horn has been sounded or heard, and I think that's what they're waiting for before hearing anything here.
So Kelvin's going to have to show a little bit more or just a boost. That's what they can show. Zach Tottle
with that
to Cam Tramley. That'll win a game. Tottle finally gets that Huck game back in order. And I think that's it, ladies and gentlemen. 15-12 Kelvin. That is your champion.
2018 provincial champions in the province of Manitoba for Ultimate is Kelvin Clippers, completing the provincial and national sweep this year that SJR did the year before. So we're seeing two strong programs in this city go head-to-head and giving us a great game.
That was a great game. Lots of big plays. A great run by Kelvin in the middle. A great comeback by SJR. Hats off to them for never giving up. Hats off to those players, the Gutkins, the Chos, for really bringing it and continuing to play. It's tough to lose a championship final, of course, but well played by both teams.
Definitely. It's always great to see these young players come out and put it all on the line, and it's safe to say that this is only a glimpse of the talent we have in this province, and Ultimate in Manitoba is in good hands with these young players moving up.